Welcome to Viewpoint from Overseas. This is your host, Misbah Azam. With me, our regular panel, Mr. Riaz Haq, here in San Jose, and Ali Hassan Samantur on Skype. Today we are going to discuss three different topics. First of all, we will talk something about Pakistan's Prime Minister, new Prime Minister, Mr. Shahid Khaqan Abbasi's visit to United States, actually visit to the UN General Assembly, and he did the speech there. He has one appearance yesterday in the CRF, which is Council for Foreign Relations, and we talk about there also that how he presented himself, and in the international diplomacy, probably this is his kind of debut, and today his speech was almost 20 minutes long. Very large part he covered on Kashmir, and especially he talked about individual incidents there like pellet guns and other atrocities. Besides, he said one thing very interesting, that Pakistan will not allow anybody to become their scapegoats, become a failure of their scapegoat. These are not the verbatim, I'm not quoting him directly, but in these lines he say that. So I will ask my panelists, how do they see, first of all, this speech, and then they should talk about it, because it seems that he is pointing out President Trump's recent allegations on Pakistan, which he did just some days ago. In Pakistan, there is Lahore constituency, where ex-Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was elected in 2013, and as we know that he is not disqualified, so he is not allowed to stay on the position. So now his wife contested the election, and his daughter, she ran the campaign for her. We will talk about it, what kind of things we find out over there, and how it is going to be in coming days, what these elections are really telling, that coming days what is going to happen. Then in the UN General Assembly 72nd session, where Prime Minister of Pakistan also came and a lot of world leaders came, excluding India, of course. They have only the foreign minister came. President Trump has a speech there, and he had some very direct threats. He gave it to North Korea, that if North Korea will not step back, then we may have to destroy it permanently. And then he also talked about the nuclear deal between the Europe, US, and the Iran. So we will talk about that also, that how these things is going to be playing in coming days, coming years of that. So yes, let me start with you. How you see Prime Minister Khaqan Abbasi's visit? Do you think that so far you find it fruitful for Pakistan, or you think that he just was there and he giving the speech and he will just leave?
No, I'm actually quite impressed by how he has represented Pakistan. I mean, the speech itself was fairly short. It was only about 20 minutes, and he just, barely touched upon all the different issues. But he did touch upon a lot of issues. So it was not very deep. It was very broad. However, he had an appearance at Council of Foreign Relations where he spoke in depth and he answered questions.
Almost an hour.
Yeah, and that I found to be much more interesting with a lot more content. One of the things that struck me about the presentation was some references to what the Pakistanis have been doing for the United States and not charging for it. There's one particular, let me just read to you what he said. He said, over 1 million US sorties have flown by coalition aircraft through Pakistan territory, and we never charge, we never bill for that. Millions of tons of US equipment moves through Pakistan territory on the ground, and we never bill for that. Because we believe in the war against terror. We supported that coalition. We continue to support efforts to bring peace to Afghanistan. So if we want to go back into history and start accounting of how many dollars were spent, Pakistan, as I said, post 9/11, the most conservative numbers, we lost $120 billion in economic growth. So this is a very important point.
Close to 14 billion.
Yeah. So here's how I see it. The US-Pakistani relations have been, from the beginning, very transactional. Even though we call them strategic, we were allies.
Never strategic, that's correct.
But in reality, what happened was that the US wanted some things from Pakistan, and it gave Pakistan some money to get those things. In the 1960s, it was they needed some bases in Pakistan to do spying on the Soviet Union. They used the Peshawar Butterbeer base for a flying spying mission over the Soviet Union at that time. And that was useful to them, so they gave us aid in return. They gave Pakistan aid in return.
But did not help during the 1965
Yeah, but
war.
when the war came in 1965, I said, well, that's not covered by our agreement by CENTA. And then, in the 1980s, they needed Pakistan to fight the Afghan war to defeat the Soviet Union. It was still a continuation of the Cold War, and they used Pakistan, as a base to fight against the Soviet Union. And then immediately after the war was over and the Soviets pulled out, the Americans pulled out too, and left these thousands of fighters, well-trained militants, with weapons in Pakistan to let Pakistan deal with it, with its meager resources. So that's been the pattern. So what is it that we can see now with Trump? Trump is much more transactional, in fact, than any of the previous presidents of the United States. In fact, he's very transactional, even with the closest U.S. allies. I mean, he wants something from Europe for protecting them. He wants something from the Japanese and the Koreans, South Koreans, for protecting them. So what the deal is going to look like with Pakistan? Does Pakistan have any cards in negotiating a deal with the United States based on this current strategy? And I think what I see as a possible deal is that if the United States says, we're not going to give you any more money, no more aid, the Pakistanis could say, okay, don't give us any aid, we don't need your aid, but you have to pay for the use of our territory, the transit fees. And they could be substantial. In fact, they could add up to a lot more than the current US aid. So that's one of the things that struck me, that the possibility of a deal here. But there's going to be nothing strategic with the United States. I think that
it never was.
It never was, and it will not be.
It will not be in the future also. Samandur, you heard Riaz Haq, his view about it. So of course I would like you to comment on that. I saw yesterday Prime Minister Abbasi's appearance in the CRF, the Council for Foreign Relations. CFR. Thank you. Overall impression, some of the questions he kind of avoided, he did not answer, like about the blasphemy question, and there are, I was just feeling that he wanted to talk more about economy, but of course questions were coming in different direction and he was answering. Though he answered some questions very well, but still there was some, I feel that it seems that he was not very confident in some places. How you see that? This is my personal understanding. And then please also comment, and I have Riaz also comment on that also. Today, that President Trump did not call Prime Minister of Pakistan with his one-on-one meeting, although they met in the reception, of course. So how you see that? Musharraf Zaidi, our friend who runs the Alif Elan, he's in New York for some conference, not for UNGA, but for some other thing. He is saying today that it is better for Pakistan that President Trump did not offer him to come and see him, because his point is that President Trump just changes his mind every day. Can you please comment on all these things? And I would like you to comment on Riaz's comment as well, please. Go ahead.
So, Misbah, I think the primary purpose of Shahid Khaqan Abbasi's visit was not to talk about, blasphemy or other laws of Pakistan. The whole purpose of this visit is to tell the United States that Pakistan is not ready to be pushed around. I think this is the message that his visit is intending to convey. And this message was in a way conveyed with the meeting with Pence, although the White House, if you look at their statement, they are saying that Pence made it clear that whatever Trump is saying is very serious, which is that Pakistan will benefit much more if they are on the side of the U.S., which in a way, kind of gives an impression that Pakistan is not on the side of the U.S. at this time. And then, when Abbasi went to the UN, also he mentioned similar things, and once again, the message was to give to the wider world that Pakistan cannot be pushed around. Now, how would this thing be taken by the U.S.? How seriously will Pakistan be taken by the U.S.? And as Razak is saying, if they don't do this, then Pakistan does not do this. And so I am not sure if that kind of confrontation is something that Pakistan is willing to take or have this with the U.S. For example, if there are airplanes, U.S. airplanes flying over Pakistan, and Pakistan is not happy, is Pakistan going to shoot them down? I don't think so. So, charging for this NATO supplies, maybe they will, they can ask for something, and maybe the U.S. would give them something. But I am not sure how much power Pakistan has in having its way against the U.S.
But after Salala, 7 months, their supply.
There is history to support that.
Yeah. How you see that?
There is some history, but you must understand that right now the U.S. has other routes. They are flying in things to their people in Afghanistan. So it's not like they cannot. It's not something that Pakistan would put the plug and suddenly the U.S. would start melting down. That is not going to happen. So I am not too sure if this tough stand that Pakistan is taking, how seriously it would be taken by the U.S.
Yeah,
I think I disagree with what Samantha is saying. I think Pakistan has a lot of options. First, it can completely cut off supplies. Say, hey, nothing is going to pass through here. And if the U.S. decides to play hardball and they want to push Pakistan around, the next step would be Pakistan could create a lot more trouble in Afghanistan by aiding and supporting some of the insurgents.
So you believe that Pakistan has some support to these insurgents?
Can do that. I mean, right now, what I have been explained, what Prime Minister Abbasi said, was that we have removed their bases now. Now the Afghanis don't have bases in Pakistan. They have been thrown out of there. But, he didn't say that they're not in Pakistan. He said they may be present in Pakistan. But they always have the option of using, India is using these groups. Afghanistan, right now the Afghan Taliban actually are being supported not just by they're also being supported by Iran and Russia. You know that, right? That's a fact. Americans themselves are accusing them of that.
That's true. General Nelson.
So they have support.
That's correct.
And Pakistan would simply make it easier for them to operate in Afghanistan. So I think Pakistan has a lot of options. So if the U.S. really wants to play hardball, Pakistanis can play hardball in return. And you know what is happening with North Korea now. If they really push Pakistan hard, there's so much antipathy against the United States in Pakistan, the ordinary people. There's a lot of anti-U.S. sentiments among the people. Pakistan could even go rogue as a result of it. So the U.S. has to take all of this into consideration, that how far do they want to push? Does it serve U.S. interest to do that or not?
Yeah, but whatever Prime Minister talked to Mr. Trump.
Well, I think they want to be conciliatory. They want to work out these issues.
And
if they charge, that's going to be with agreement.
That's
that, hey,
true.
you know, you're going to pay for this because we're providing you. You know, when you fly over a certain country's territory, it's usually on a reciprocal basis. All the civilian aircraft are usually allowed to fly.
That's true.
And that is through mutual arrangement.
Yeah.
That, okay, we allow you to do that, you allow our aircraft to fly over your territory, and then that's a deal. But the military aircraft, no, there's no such international agreement that allows any country to just fly their military aircraft over another country's.
Samanto, do you have any comment on that?
No, my comment is that, I mean, this is a very strange kind of logic, which Riyazov is putting, which is like, you have to treat us nice, otherwise we'll go crazy. And you don't want a crazy nation of, about 180 million people. I mean, is that what the logic is?
No, that's not the logic. The logic is, if the United States pushes Pakistan around, they will respond. They will respond with whatever options they have. It's not that they're going to just live over and play dead. That's not going to happen.
What you're suggesting...
And what you're suggesting is the U.S. will simply go bomb Pakistan. That's not going to happen. They're not going to allow that to happen.
No, it will not. They will not go that far. But even before it goes that far, there is very bad news for Pakistan. All these conflicts within Pakistan would start rising, and Pakistan would be in a very bad shape. So, Pakistan has to be very careful in this relationship.
And they are being careful.
Yeah.
I'm talking about an extreme situation here where the U.S. decided to go all out.
Yeah, but the thing is that
Pakistan.
US have a lot of leverage on the International Financial Institute. Pakistan is going to need their help.
And look what has happened with North Korea. How's that leverage working?
Actually, so Pakistan want to be like North Korea?
No, I'm not saying they want to be. I'm saying that if they're pushed to the limit, they could go rogue. I mean, that's something for the U.S. policy makers to consider.
Do you think Pakistan will consider this option?
I don't think that's within the realm of possibility.
That's correct, yeah.
I'm suggesting is those are the extreme cases.
Yeah, that's true. So let's move to the...
And there is an example. Yeah. I mean, Pakistan cut off the supply lines the last time. The U.S. understood that. They backed off. They actually tried to use other routes. And then they tried to push Pakistan. Pakistan said, no, unless you apologize for the Salalah incident, there's going to be no further progress here.
But there was no apology.
There was an apology.
No, there was a meeting.
No. There was a specific apology issued by the Secretary of State at that time.
Secretary
Hillary
of State
Clinton.
said that we are not very happy that it's happened. We regret this happened. That they did not
the
say
supply lines did not open until there was an apology. This is what I remember.
Well, you and I can chat on that.
And there have been books written on this particular subject.
Okay.
In fact, the most recent one was by Wali Nasser.
Okay, we will talk about that. We are already running out of time.
So I think we have this tendency to think that, hey, we're just completely powerless, there's nothing we can do, we should just play dead and let the United States roll over us. This is not the right kind of attitude. I mean, in international relations, everybody has options.
No, everybody has an option, but the thing is that nobody is suggesting that we are playing dead or anything. I'm just asking, is it the option Pakistan would ever use, that they turn to rogue nation? And
I would not.
Pakistan would not do.
I would not rule that out.
And I ruled it out. Let's move on. Mr. Trump's speech. How you see, Riaz?
Well, I think it was a very belligerent speech.
That's true.
I mean, the most interesting reaction I saw was from Senator Dianne Feinstein, and she said, Trump went to the United Nations, which is to promote global peace and cooperation.
Yeah, I mean,
and he threatened war in that forum.
Yeah, openly.
He openly threatened war. He said, we're going to completely destroy North Korea. So this is the kind of nonsense. See, if somebody threatens you like that, if they did to Pakistan, we're going to completely destroy it. Do you think Pakistan will take it lying down? They'll respond very strongly to that.
That's true.
After all, they're also a nuclear power.
That's true.
I mean, they have their problems, but that doesn't mean that anybody can just go and roll over them.
That's true. Samandur, how you see that speech?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same view as Riyazov said, that he was so aggressive and salacious. It was just not something that is how things are said, especially by the United States. But, New York Times had a very good analysis on this speech.
Yeah, I read that.
You read that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The main point was that here you are asking North Korea to not pursue their nuclear and hydrogen bomb and all this program, and they will ease the sanctions. And at the same time, you are coming out of the deal with Iran. So how much confidence should North Korea have that the same thing will not happen with them? That they stop their program, you ease the sanction, but any time they don't behave or you're not happy with them, then you do the same thing with them. As you are doing with Iran, you just pull out of things and start putting sanctions back on. So, I don't think, I'm not sure, who are these advisors who, or if there are any, who are asking him to say things like this in such manner. I'm very disappointed by that speech.
Riaz, do you...
Stephen Miller actually wrote that speech, and
oh,
people don't.
Yeah. So what do you expect?
He's a racist. He's a crazy man. He's very young. He doesn't understand world affairs yet, and he thinks that the United States can just go threatening countries and they'll just roll over. That's not going to happen.
So Riaz, tell me something. Do you agree with Musharraf Zadi's comment that it was good for Pakistan that President Trump did not give a time to Prime Minister Abbasi to...
Well, I think in terms of optics, it's not good. I mean, people want to see, hey, when you're received by a U.S. president as a head of government or a head of a nation, that indicates respect for your nation. And Trump actually met Ashraf Ghani today, but he did not meet.
Correct.
He did not meet
Prime
Minister Khaqan Abbasi, so that there's a message there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think we're beyond optics now. I think Pakistan understands. I hope if they don't, I hope they try and understand the fact that the Cold War is over. There's a new realignment taking place in the world. And Pakistan is not on the side of the United States in that alignment.
That's true.
So Pakistan has to accept that reality, particularly vis-a-vis India, because the United States sees India and Japan as its key partners, key allies in Asia, not Pakistan.
Sure.
And Pakistan is seen more as an ally of China in this context. So the reality is changing. It's not going to all happen all in one day, but that's the direction that we're going. There was a time when Ayub Khan, for example, came to visit you in the 1960s. He was received at Andrews Air Force Base by President John F. Kennedy. Both John F. Kennedy and his wife, Jackie Kennedy, received them. They drove in an open motorcade, and they were greeted by a lot of people. Yeah. They were given a great, reception at the White House. They had a banquet. He also spoke to the joint houses of Congress, House of Representatives and the Senate. So all of that was happening because Pakistan was needed by the United States at that time. It reminds me of what Kissinger, has said. There's a quote by Kissinger that says that U.S. has no permanent friends, only permanent interests. Only, interests.
He's talking in general in international relations.
So I think that's the reality of it. So we shouldn't, be elated if Trump meets with the Pakistani Prime Minister or President, nor should we be depressed if he doesn't meet them. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Samantor.
Okay. Yeah, I think that it would have been better if Abbasi would have met Trump, and especially because this thing in Pakistani's mind that if something is happening to India, that we should be treated as good by the U.S. as India is treated by the U.S. So definitely, on that count, Pakistanis were not happy that Trump did not meet him. But the message still went through, and the message was the displeasure of the Pakistani people and this Pakistani establishment with this attitude that Trump is showing.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk our final topic, NA-120, which is the constituency in Lahore. and recently there was an election. Riaz, how you see that?
Yeah, so I think the result was as expected. You know, there was, I had never any doubt that Kulsum Nawaz would win that constituency. It has always been a stronghold of Pakistan Muslim League. Nawaz Guru, Nawaz Sharif himself won there many times, and it was expected that his wife would win. What is surprising is the margin. She got a lot less margin. She won by a much smaller margin than Nawaz Sharif had won in the same seat. First of all, the turnout was very low. It was only about 40%.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
which
true.
is not unusual for a by-election. Yeah, but I think the number of votes, the difference is very small. It's only like 14,000 vote difference between Kulsum Nawaz, Nawaz Sharif's wife, and Dr. Yasmin Rashid of PTI. So she got 61. Kulsum Nawaz got 61,745 votes, and Dr. Yasmin Rashid got 47,099 votes. The other surprise in this was that Pakistan People's Party ended up fourth.
Less than those religious.
Yeah, the third was Muslim League Milli.
That's correct.
Milli Muslim League, which is basically a JUD front.
That's true.
Jamaat Dawa or the LET front.
Yeah, but they also get very little votes.
But they only got like 5,000. And the other big surprise was that Jamaat Islami got only 500 votes out of it.
500 votes out of it.
People's Party got 1,400, Jamaat Islami.
Yeah.
So I think it says that in Punjab, it's probably safe to say that it's really PMLN versus PTI. That's going to be the contest.
I see.
And the other important thing to understand is that the religious parties, as usual, are not going to poll well. They have never polled well in Pakistan. They get very few votes.
That's true.
So I think that's going to continue to be the case.
Samantur, like Riaz said, that the margin between them is less, but PTI was supported by PAT and Q League. Although PMLN was also supported with some small parties, but not as big parties. The Q League used to be ruling over Punjab. So then, you still surprised that why they have this gap shrunk?
Yeah, so I don't agree with this notion that this result was as expected. I mean, logically speaking, you see a prime minister disqualified on the charges of corruption.
Mm-hmm.
There is question mark on the whole family. So if things would go logically, you would think that people would say no to these people. But that did not happen. People are still voting for Nawaz Sharif and his party, and in this case, Kulsum Nawaz won. So I don't think that it is, if you look at it logically, you would think that people in some other country would, after these allegations were kind of proven, that they would vote otherwise. It did not happen, which shows that there is some kind of inertia in the system, in people's minds, whatever way you want to call it, that they are conservative, that they don't change that often. That's one thing. And the second thing you see is that people all the time, there is this thing that the Pakistani establishment is so powerful, it decides what to do with who, and everything goes according to their plan. And this election proved that no, things don't go according to the plan of the establishment. If the establishment wanted not only Nawaz Sharif out, but PMLN out from NA-120, that did not happen.
Riaz, you have a final comment?
Yeah, I think it's not surprising to me that she won. I mean, even in the United States, we've had these congressmen elected who were, shady characters who had some, pretty serious charges against them. They were under investigation for corruption. And they still won an election. So that happens. I'm not surprised. I mean, people don't always consider that as the most important thing. However, the fact that their margin shrunk as much as it did is an indication that they're losing support.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was all for today. We already ran out of time, so we will be seeing you will be seeing us next week on the same time, same channel. Keep watching Viewpoint from Overseas. I'm your host, Ms. Baz.